Hi, I'm Rose Jacobson, and I'm here with another episode with Lee Towell. I'd introduce him in his long title as avid blogger, YouTube star, and agent to the stars, but I hope that you know already. So here's Lee joining me again. Here's Lee joining me again. Yeah, you know. This time collar is not popped.
Put it down.
All right. So we're here to talk about Deron Williams. Now, Deron Williams is with the New Jersey Nets right now, the soon-to-be Brooklyn Nets. And the Nets this year are out of the playoff race, haven't really done much this season, to be honest. And it must be difficult for Deron to come from a winning team and success to go from a team that's not as successful. So, what does his future lie, and do you think he's going to stay with the Nets? Obviously, they're moving to Brooklyn, and this would be his opportunity to be a face of a company and franchise. But do you think that's in his best interest, and that's what he wants? Lee?
Well, since high school, Deron Williams has been a winner, so coming to a team like the Nets, he didn't really have much control of the situation. It must be hard for him to go through some losing and some growing pains with a team when he's in the prime of his career and could be doing the most damage in the right situation. But my real question is, if Deron Williams is as good as we think he is and as he's supposed to be, don't you think the Nets would have been a little bit better this season? I mean, you look at their roster, and they have guys like Marshawn Brooks and Gerald Green and Gerald Wallace, and you have a battler down low in Sheldon Williams, and you have a guy like Chris Humphries. He's going to have back-to-back double-double averages on the season. Don't you think, if he's as good as he's supposed to be, that this team would be a little bit better than they are?
Well, to be honest with you, a lot of the players you just named, especially Gerard Wallace, they acquired after the trade deadline, so they didn't have a lot of time with him. And also, the rookies, they're hot and cold because they're still trying to feel their way out and figure out the way in the league. And the injuries that the Nets have suffered this season, they've been plagued with injuries. They didn't re-sign anyone. They've given up most of their contracts because they pretty much went all or nothing in the Dwight Howard race, hoping to acquire him. Didn't pan out. So once that happened, they really, really, I think, morally kind of suffered, as well as the team, because they really, I think this year were understanding that, you know what, we're going to have to probably take the losses and take the hardships, and we're going to have to suffer in order to get that big player. But something also, Brook Lopez and him being injured for pretty much the whole year was a shock to the Nets. This guy has been in the league and has played, 3 seasons straight now? 3 seasons straight without missing a season. And now this year he comes down and gets very seriously hurt. So they clearly were not expecting that injury, which really impacted the team. Because I think that if he was in the lineup, granted he's not the best rebounder, but he puts up around 20 points a game. And the couple of times he's played on the floor with the Nets this season.
They beat the Mavericks with him in there.
Yeah, the couple times they've...
38 points.
Yeah, he's had explosive games offensively, something that they really need. And I think that would have changed the game up. What about you?
I totally agree. I think that was the one claw in their side, was the fact that they had all these injuries this season. And as somebody that watched them closely this season, I think they really battled. And I have to say that I commend the team for fighting and playing hard despite the fact that they kept getting the short end of the stick. I mean, it felt like every time they picked up a new player, that guy would go down with injuries. Even a guy like Keith Bogans, who they picked up in the middle of the season, he goes out for the season with an injury, season ender. It just kept piling on.
And also, a fun fact, this year I think the D-League had a new record of 50 call-ups from the D-League. That's never happened before. With the shortened season where everyone's been getting hurt, injury-prone, they were record-setting numbers to call up from the D-League. I know the Nets had about 3 or 4 of those, and they had guys on 2 and 3 10-day contract signings. So that also impacts people because you're not having a steady group of guys to learn the flow and get used to the chemistry with each other. So that impacts the chemistry of the game. Anything else?
I mean, I think we pretty much covered it. It's not easy to just transition from, let's say, a D-League system right into the NBA. Albeit the Nets do have their own D-League team in the Springfield Armor. it's not exactly the same game. You look at a guy like Dennis Horner who can average big points in a D-League game, and then he'll come to the NBA and he looks like he's never touched the basketball in his life. So
I think he looks pretty good on the floor, to be honest with you. I'm a Dennis Horner fan. I think he's great and he could make it in the NBA.
But yeah, I think he does have skill. Obviously, he is in the basketball scene.
But the big question, do you think Deron Williams will stay or go?
If I had to guess right now, I would say that there's a good chance that depending on the way things fall out from the draft, and depending on where the Nets draft, and depending on their off-season moves, before he makes a decision, I think those will come into play. I do think that Deron is committed to winning, and I don't think that he's totally against the team he has right now. I've seen him interact with guys like Gerald Green and Gerald Wallace on the bench and Chris Humphries, and they seem to have a chemistry. They look like they get along, and it does seem like he wants them to succeed. I don't think he's so quick to just go over to Dallas. I understand he grew up around there, but an aging Dirk Nowitzki, what else do you really have there? So
plus, Prokhorov, the Nets owner, recently came out in their press conference and he threatened to kickbox.
We all saw that. Yes.
Yeah, threatened to kickbox Mark Cuban. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen or heard about Mikhail Prokhorov, but he is 6'7" and has very long legs. So I would not want to be in a kickboxing match with him. But what do you guys think? Do you think Deron's going to stay? Do you think he's going to go? What are your opinions? Let us know. Till next time, I'm Rose Jacobson.
And I'm Lee Towell.
Bye, guys.